Should you upgrade to the new iPhone 15 from an older iPhone or buy a 13 or 14 since Apple is still selling them for much lower prices? Well, I'm gonna give you guys all of the info and I think you're gonna be really surprised. I'm gonna start out with the external changes because this was something that I think is really cool and I was not expecting. The colors are now a lot more muted than the very saturated bright colors of the previous iPhones, and the color is actually embedded through the single piece of glass. It's actually built into the foundation of it itself, and we have a new textured matte finish on the glass instead of the shiny finish. Now, the older iPhones, they got a ton of fingerprints, and the new iPhone 15, well, is just like the Pros. The next update is the new USB Type-C port. For the first time ever, the iPads, the MacBooks, and the iPhones have the same connector. Now, I know you probably have a bunch of lightning cables, but I would say this is a huge selling point because it makes it easy to share your charger with different devices and also with friends that might have an Android phone. Now, unfortunately, the speeds are still the slow USB Type 2 speeds for transfers. So if you want to get the faster speed, you have to go with the Pro, but most people just use that cable or MagSafe for charging and they use iCloud. Now, you do get a new braided cable, so it is a very nice one and also makes it a little bit more durable as well. And the next big change is the dynamic island. Apple added this last year to the Pro phones, but now it is here on the standard iPhones. And let me tell you, using it over the last year has been awesome. There are so many shortcuts and so much information that can pop up. For example, if I'm using my timer, if I want to quickly access music, and just showing me directions for navigation and a ton of other stuff. And the timing is perfect because many third-party applications are now adding extra features to use it now that it's been out for about a year. And I think this is a huge selling point. It gets rid of that ugly notch. Now it does cut into your content because it's kind of floating there, but I would say this is a big upgrade over the previous phones, and it's the first time in a while that there's a difference on the front of the phone. Now the next one I was not expecting at all. We gasped when Apple showed this off, and that is the fact that we are getting the Super Retina XDR display that you only got on the Pro phones. This thing is able to reach 1600 nits for HDR. In standard lighting, the brightness is actually higher as well, and it can hit up to 2000 nits when you are outside in the sun. And now this has been absolutely amazing, a real world difference where you're outside, it's bright, but your screen is now way brighter, making it really easy to see, to enjoy what you're looking at, and this is a massive upgrade compared to the older phones. Now the screen sizes are technically the same, but if you look at the resolution, it has actually gone up by just a little bit, and that is because the iPhone 15 is slightly taller than the 14 and the 13 and 12, but with that, it actually weighs 1 gram less. I don't know how they achieve that because we do have a bigger battery inside. We have the new cameras that we will touch on and some other changes that Apple didn't mention, but that is pretty cool to see. And with that, we also have a new contoured edge, which means that the phone is gonna be more comfortable to hold in your hand. We still have the flat sides like before, which gives you really good grip, but now with that contoured edge, it's just gonna feel nicer in the hand. Now, before I move on, I've got to talk about something that is impacting more and more people these days, which is depression and even more common anxiety, which is something that I've personally struggled with, which made me withdraw from people I love, made it hard to work, and just not enjoy life. And that is why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and accessible through their online platform, which is conveniently fully remote, allowing you to quickly fill out a few questions to instantly match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days to start getting you the help you need to work through those issues. And because finding a therapist that fits you is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Just tap or click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/maxtech for 10% off your first month of professional therapy with BetterHelp today. Now, I previously mentioned the bigger batteries. Apple said that on stage, but the battery life is rated about the same as it was before. Now, internally, we have a lot of of differences. So the real world screen on time can actually be better, and I will explain why. We have the A16 chip that came in the iPhone 14 Pro, so that is now in here. And that also means that we have better CPU performance, graphics performance, and better efficiency. Now, what is brand new is the 2nd gen ultra wideband chip. This is the first time that this update has come out to that chip, and Apple's gonna be using this one for a long time. Now, one really cool thing is that it works 3 times further away. So if you're gonna be tracking down an AirTag or maybe another device like a friend, you can actually do it really far away, and it will guide you with precision finding to your friends. And that is really, really cool. This chip will also be used for a lot of other things in the future. So that is one reason, if you're buying a new phone, to go with the 15. Now, another thing that is new is the X70 modem. Now, Apple did not mention this, but we have had 5G ever since the iPhone 12. And every year, the connection actually gets better. And with that, we have the emergency SOS with satellite. Now that was added to the iPhone 14s, but now they are adding roadside assistance. So it's using the same technology, but it's more useful. And that's actually both on the 15 and the 14 it's gonna get added. So if that's something you find yourself in areas where you have no signal at all, I would definitely consider that. Now the next change is a huge one, and that is the cameras. Now we have a 48 megapixel main camera, and this is using a brand new sensor with actual better technology than the sensor in the iPhone 15 Pro has. It has sensor shift image stabilization, it has a new lens, and it's doing quad pixel binning, so it can combine pixels together. The focusing is much improved, and there's a lot of software improvements. Now, one thing that is super cool is that unlike last year with the Pros, well, if you take a photo, it is now defaulted to a 24 megapixel image, so you have more detail there. But what Apple didn't say is that you can actually switch it to HEIF Max, which we saw on screen, and it'll record a 48 megapixel image that is compressed and doesn't take up a lot of room. Now, I've been shooting 48 megapixel shots with my 14 Pro for about a year, and the detail is incredible. It looks more natural, but with that, you had to use Pro RAW, convert it yourself. This is all done automatically, so this is a massive improvement. Now, with that sensor, you also have a 2x telephoto mode now built in, so that is really sweet because it just improves the zoom camera. And likely for portrait shots, you won't be stuck with just a wide angle camera that can cause distortions and stuff like that. It'll look a lot more natural. So if you like portraits, this is a really big improvement. With that, zoom shots are gonna look way better than before because you have 4 times the resolution. And you can also zoom in twice as much than before too, which is a limitation with the 14 and previous. You could only do 5x. So that is really nice. The colors have been updated. We have Smart HDR5, so you have better low light, better portraits overall, and what's really cool is that you can take a photo and then shift where the focus is to another subject. And then with that, you can take a regular photo, not in portrait mode, and then you can add portrait mode later because all that data is being saved. With that, I have to point out nighttime photos because this is where the old regular iPhones struggled. The Pro models had LiDAR, so you could do night mode and portrait at the same time, and it looked so much better. But finally, this is going to be fixed. Now, the prices have stayed exactly the same. You still get the same amount of storage at base as well, so that didn't change. But of course, like I mentioned, you can get the iPhone 14 for $100 less than the 15, and even the 13 for $200 less. And then of course, you can buy used phones. But with all this info that I shared with you guys, I have to say that I am actually a lot more impressed with this year's iPhone 15 than I am with the 15 Pro update. We have so many new features that are packed into the 15, things that Apple would lock down with hardware or with software to make the regular iPhone worse than the Pro model. But this year, I was just shocked by how much they gave it. And I think this is the best regular iPhone update in very, very many years. So honestly, I would say that if you are trying to decide between upgrading, I would absolutely do it. If you have a 14 and you're thinking about it, I would still say yes if you're on the fence. Of course, most people don't upgrade their phone every year, but if you have a 13 or a 12, this is the year to upgrade if you're thinking about just going with the regular iPhone, not the Pro models. So let me know your thoughts if you're gonna be upgrading or buying an iPhone 15. I wanna hear you guys' opinion. Once again, check out BetterHelp down below. Click that circle above to subscribe and check out one of those great videos right over there. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next one.